Hello and welcome to the Connected Community Podcast. Today, my guest is Christine Renee, and I'm having her on for the third time. That's how much I absolutely love her. Christine is the founder of Moon Rising Shamanic Institute. She's a Reiki teacher, chakra coach, shamanic Reiki practitioner, and trainer. And today we talk about Tantra. So if you have ever been curious about how to have an orgasm on your own without anybody touching you, without even touching yourself, this is the podcast for you. And today we talk about everything with Tantra. And Tantra isn't what you think it is, or isn't what I thought it was. It's not necessarily all about sex. It's so much more. It's a practice that you can do completely on your own. You can do it in a non-sexual way with partners to develop and build intimacy, or you can do it in partnership. It really is about creating a beautiful connection with yourself first. And we're going to just break it open and talk all about it. So I hope you'll enjoy. Please, if you're enjoying the podcast, take a moment to give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. And I'm going to hop on in with Christine. Hello, and welcome to the Connected Community Podcast, a place to explore possibility through mindfulness, movement, and self-discovery. Our intention is to deliver insight and inspiration while fostering conversations that are genuine, unfiltered, and deeply human. We hope you will enjoy today's episode. Hey, Christine, welcome to the Connected Community Podcast.
I am super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you. This is our third episode together, and you're the only guest I've had on 3 times. Most guests I don't even have more than once. So yeah, that's how much I love you.
I feel so special.
Uh-huh. You have such an awesome way of sharing information that's like really easy to understand, and you have this enthusiasm around whatever you're passionate about, and I love it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love showing up fully into whatever I'm invested in and excited about, and I love to share that enthusiasm with whoever will listen.
Yes. Awesome. Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, because you are the founder of the Moon Rising Shamanic Institute, but I have so many other things that you do, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like I've been in the spiritual industry for over 20 years. I started studying Reiki in 2002. My dad did it when I was a kid. So I've always had this underlying spiritual awareness, energy awareness throughout my entire life. And so I started teaching Reiki in 2009. I started my own shamanic Reiki business around 2016, had my full in-person practice. And I do a little bit of everything. Like if you really want, like, yeah, I can teach shamanic journeys and I can teach Reiki but what I feel like there's lots of little caveats that people don't know about. Like I love doing home energy clearings. I do intrusive entity removals. I do like all these little deeper things that oftentimes people are scared to get into. Those are the types of clients that are sent to me. And I feel very much really comfortable and confident in who I am and what my capacity is. And I love understanding energy. I love having energy awareness and how do I expand it to its fullest capacity. So that's always the underlying thread, whether it's in Reiki or shamanism or Tantra, it's always where is the energy and how does it make me feel? And if I feel that expansion, how does that relate to others? And so that's
Mm-hmm.
always the common thread because I feel the more we can stand in our sovereignty of who we are and our truth and our gifts and our passion, that's when we make that ripple effect change in our worlds, our intimate worlds and our home life and our communities and the world at large.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I always try to find guests to, like, what are you most passionate about at this time? Because if they're really passionate about it, then they can share it in this beautiful way that's like electric. Yeah. And
Right.
that's needed. That's needed for anytime we're sharing our gifts. We need to be passionate.
Yes. Right.
Hmm.
And not dim our light to make other
Yeah.
people feel comfortable. So that's
Yeah.
actually what I'm always most excited about is how do I light people up? How can they find their inner truth? How can they find
Mhm.
their light? What will set them free from their own internal belief systems, limitations, hardships, like whatever that is? How can we break ourselves out of our box that we may have created, that society has put us in, that family structures have put us in, and really live our life to our fullest form, our fullest truth? That's always what I'm excited about, right?
Mm,
And so
mhm.
it's just like, what new avenue does that bring us into? And so I'm constantly finding these new avenues that I get excited about. So, yeah, in the beginning, yes, it was absolutely shamanic journey. I can do this for myself. This is direct revelation. I no longer need a guru. I no longer need a teacher or mentor because I can go directly to my internal source, my higher self, my spirit guide, my guardian angel, my celestial partners, friends on the other side
Mhm.
to have that direct revelation, right? And so now I'm empowered in my own truth and my own knowingness. And then it's like breadcrumbs of like, oh, but what about this? And oh, what
Yeah.
about this? Or what about
Mm.
this? Right. And so the more I find different avenues of exploration, of opening oneself, of feeling in your full expansiveness to live an ecstatic life, that's heaven on earth, right?
Mm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about Tantra. And I've actually been looking for somebody to talk about this topic for a long time. And so let's demystify what this means. Is it Tantra or Tantra? Where did it come from and what is it? What is it?
I would say most people say tantra. I have
Mhm.
the habit of saying tantra.
Okay.
I think as long as people hear where your intention is coming from, I think that's important. It's like saying chakra versus chakra, right?
Mhm.
As long as people know what we're trying to get at, I think that's important.
Okay.
And trying to be as authentic as we possibly can. So,
Mhm.
Tantra for me, it's an energy awareness exercise. It is a understanding that through an experiential process, we can come to know where our energy is and how to flow that within ourselves. How can we flow that energy from our root chakra to our crown? How can we embody both our inner Shiva, that conscious awareness, the container,
Mhm.
and the Shakti energy, which is the flow within that container? How
Mhm.
can we embody both our divine feminine, our sacred masculine, if you want to use those terms,
Mhm.
so that we can come to this place of more fuller expression of who we are, a more fuller expansion of our energy field. And with that, we have these modes of breath, sound, and movement to move that energy through. So this can
Mhm.
be a very personal practice. You know, when I first was introduced to Tantra, it was very much for me, myself, and I. This was a self love practice
Mhm.
versus partnership, which is also very yummy and lovely. But is it
Mhm.
kinky? Not necessarily. We learn
Uh-huh.
how to set ourselves up into having deep, vulnerable, intimate conversations of what are our fears, desires, and boundaries. Right. So if you're
Mm.
really into kink, if you're into BDSM, Tantra is great for you because it gives you the structure to have the conversations around my desires, my fears, my boundaries, consent, right?
Mhm.
But um it's not necessarily inclusive of that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Mm.
I personally am not practicing kink or BDSM when I'm
What
practicing.
is BDSM?
BDSM is bondage,
Okay.
right? So, and then, there's some overlap. Some people really like shibari, which is the rope, like tying people up with
Oh,
rope,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
right? But it's so that their sensory self can be heightened in certain ways, right?
Mm.
But in that, it's this invitation into what is your desire, what's your fear, what's your boundary in this.
Mm.
Learning how to have this open conversation versus BDSM oftentimes has dominant and submissive. That's not what we're focusing on in Tantra,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when we work through Tantra, the exercises, the practices are going, what is your yes and what's your no? And we're always going to go with the stronger boundary of the no, right? And so when we're doing breath work practices, they can be really intense breath work practices, and you're doing it for yourself. You're eliciting your energy to move from the earth up through this inner flute, right?
Mhm.
You're moving the energy up through the chakras and noticing what you notice, feeling what you feel, and observing it. That's the Shiva. I'm going to observe what I notice as I move this energy through. The energy itself is the Shakti,
Mhm.
right? So when
Mhm.
you have, let's say, stored grief in your heart space, when you're doing the breath work, it's might come to the heart center and you have an explosive of emotions. The anger, the grief, the sadness, the crying, the whatever it is can be allowed in the container
Mhm.
to express itself. So one of my favorite things about Tantra is that you are not broken. You
Mhm.
are whole just the way you are, and everything is welcome. So there is no shaming of this emotion is bad, this is good. There's none of that happening. So you all of who you are is welcome in the space and being held in the space.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that in of itself is a really beautiful contrast to a lot of different healing circles and spiritual circles, because in the healing space, you're broken, therefore you're here because you need healing,
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
right?
But you're whole as you are.
But you're whole as you are in Tantra.
Mm.
Come
Mhm.
as you are. So if you're having a shitty day, have a shitty day. If you're anxious, be anxious. If you're angry, notice that. It's
Mhm.
constantly, okay, so it is what it is. Let's breathe through it. Let's sound through it. Let's move through it.
Yeah.
It becomes a somatic practice as well of noticing where things are stuck in your energy.
Mm. Mhm. Can you share your first experience with Tantra? Because it's so good.
Yes. Yeah. So,
It'll make everybody want to do this practice for sure.
right. So I have been
Mhm.
interested in Tantra for a long time, but whether it was in my marriage or after, I thought my first envisioning of Tantra was it was a partnership practice, that I
Yep.
needed to be in partnership, and or therefore I couldn't practice it. So that was my first impression. And I had someone introduce me to someone who was going to be holding a retreat in Costa Rica called Tantrawaska. And it was a all women's Tantra and ayahuasca week long retreat. And I really wasn't interested in the ayahuasca. Like, it's never called to me. Like, I've tried lots of plant medicines. Some I
Mhm.
enjoy more than others. I always do it very intentionally. Like, I don't believe that plant medicine is something to play around with. It's not a recreational sport for me. And so, but I was like, well, I could see myself doing ayahuasca. So it wasn't a full no. But what really intrigued me was the tantra aspect.
Mhm.
And I was curious that this is an all women's retreat. What are we doing for a tantra
Yeah.
women's practice? Like, what does
Mhm.
that mean?
Yeah.
And I remember calling up Kashi, one of the facilitators of the experience, and I really wanted to know how she's going to hold space for this. Like, it's really important for me to know that the circle, however it's held, especially with plant medicine, that was going to be held tightly, that we were going to stay in sacred space, to do ceremony, that there was ritual, that there was pieces to hold the container.
Mhm.
And she reassured all of my fears, because I had been at another retreat in Costa Rica and it went very poorly for me spiritually because the container wasn't held well.
Yep.
And so she's like, nope, we're going to be in ceremony for basically 7 days straight. We're never leaving the property. This is how it's going to be. I was like, yes, okay, I can trust that. I can trust that space holding. So that was really
Mhm.
an important part. And there was going to be 3 ayahuasca ceremonies, two in a row, take a day off, and then a third one. And so the beginning and everything in between was women's tantra work. So being
Mhm.
introduced to energy awareness within the self, really coming at the perspective of how can we move to move this energy. So I was being introduced to things like yoni yoga and breath
Mhm.
work to increase the energy flow from the earth to the sky?
Mhm.
How do we move energy through movement, through breath, through sounding, through all of these different elements and in different positions? Sometimes we were standing up. Sometimes we were doing anger release exercises. Sometimes we were doing grief exercises. We were doing all of these things that were eliciting somatic experiences, right? Prior to and in between all of these ayahuasca ceremonies,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I remember, I think it was on so we had 2 days of ayahuasca, and my ayahuasca journeys were very um, broad spectrum. My intention was to meet the divine feminine, to
Mhm.
to embody the divine feminine, understand the divine feminine, and receiving those answers, right? And so here I am at a women's tantra retreat, and
Yeah.
my ayahuasca journeys are embodying, visiting with, understanding the divine feminine, and receiving that wisdom. And then the day in between the two ceremonies of ayahuasca and the final ceremony of ayahuasca, we were all in a circle and we all had our mats, and in our mats we had our blankets and our pillows. Like, we made our little nest, and we were instructed to put pillows underneath our hips, like lift your hips off the ground, and we are going to move with through the chakras, each chakra area of the body, and move it all the way from root to crown while we're doing this deep breathwork practice. And so here I am lying on my back in the circle of women, and we are all making sound through our chakras. We are moving the energy through our chakras, and each chakra has probably about 6 minutes to move in. And I remember hitting my heart chakra, and there was this huge amount of grief. It was like one of the few times I cried on the retreat because I was grieving the divorce I had from a year prior, and just recognizing this big emotional release. And as the energy kept moving forward, your sounds change,
Mhm.
your recognition of your sensory experience shifts. You, because the breath work is so intense, your fingers are tingling, your toes are tingling. There's this invitation to allow whatever to happen. There is no goal orientation. The intention is just to let the energy move. You're being held in the Shiva, the container, you're having the awareness, and you're invited to move the energy however it needs to. So
Mhm.
there's people in the room who's crying, who are screaming, who are having their own processes. Some sound very orgasmic. Some, like, people are making noises, whatever is showing up for them, right? So you painting the picture of the room for you, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so here I am. I've moved through this big heart opener, and I'm moving through it. And as the energy keeps rising and rising and rising, I can feel that sexual energy continue to rise in within me.
Like a circular movement?
You're bringing the energy up and through constantly.
Mhm.
So if you're moving the sexual energy up, you're eliciting the wildness of your root chakra, that primal energy of the root chakra, through the creativity and the juiciness, the flow of your sacral. You're moving through the confidence of your solar plexus, the openness of your heart. All of these things are moving through, and you're vocalizing it.
Yeah.
Right. And so as the energy moves up, I have this amazing full body orgasm without any physical touch, without any kind of stimulation. It's just energy. It's just energy, and it
Uh-huh.
feels amazing. And I was kind of like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? That was amazing. Every woman needs to know how to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's like, if you know
Yeah.
how to elicit the energy within yourself, if you truly are a sovereign being, and we don't have a need for someone else, you can provide that own energy movement within yourself. So much is possible,
Mhm.
right? And so when you're doing the work, when you're recognizing what energy is stuck, how can I cultivate the energy in my womb space? How can I let my womb space, the sacred space of the womanhood, be my GPS system?
Yeah.
If I let that lead for a while rather than my logical brain, whether
Mhm.
maybe not even my heart space, but what if my womb was just like, let us lead for a while?
Yeah. Is
Doing,
that the is
yeah.
that the only time you've been able to do that on your own, or is that have you done that other times on your own since then?
Oh, since then, yeah. Like,
Ah.
wouldn't say it's like a common practice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But
I,
you can do it
I can
in a different setting.
Yeah, so there's like quantum light breath as a great example. You're eliciting this very quick breath, chakra breathing. You're breathing through the chakras very quickly, and it's circular breath. So there's not a holding at the top or the bottom. Inhale and exhale pretty rapidly. And you have these specific things that you can do with your body to increase that motion. So you can be doing a pelvic rock. So you're basically rocking, like think cat cow, right? Yoga. You're moving that lower back and tilting your pelvis. And while you inhale, you expand your chest open and you're arching your back, right? On the inhale, you're sucking the energy up and in, and on that suck, maybe you're giving yourself a little kegel. You're pulling that energy in. You're saying yes to the earth energy rising up in you, right? So as you open your chest, you're sucking this energy up. So you're moving your lips like a straw and actually sucking. And then on the exhale, you round your back out the other direction and you release everything. And you're doing this rocking very quickly back and forth. And as your PC pumping, that you're using that specific muscle to do that kegel, you're squeezing that energy upward, right? And while you're doing that, you're physically bringing blood flow to your yoni, that sacred womb space, right? And so there is a physical element going on. Yes, I am physically moving my body. There's an emotional component. I'm recognizing and feeling into what's showing up for me. How does this feel? What do I notice? And there's a spiritual component. I'm
Yeah.
allowing all of who I am to be welcome and show up in the space. And when you have
Mm,
all three of those on board, it's so much more welcome to allow what needs to be allowed. It's
yeah.
so much easier to flow into whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying that this can be a self practice and it can also be practiced with others. So why is there this misconception whenever you hear the word tantra, you just think sex? Is it I feel like there was a book that was popular maybe 20 years ago. Maybe that's where it came from, where they actually were having kind of sex in the cover.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm talking about? Which book that is?
I don't, because there's so
No.
many.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
so many, like,
Yeah.
have tantra products that look just like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
so here's the thing, it's like, you have this practice that in ancient text, the sexual aspect might have been just a small fraction of it. And then
Mhm.
in the 1970s, during the sexual revolution, it got hyper focused on,
Yeah.
right? So this is where, in the 1800s in India, there was a caste system, right?
Mhm.
Of who's available to reach enlightenment, who's available to and who are the peasants, right? And they're not available to have this enlightenment, this Satori experience, right? And so there was a breakaway going, we're going to explore, we're going to break the box and explore to see what actually helps you find Satori experiences, those enlightening experiences. And one of those experiences they practiced was through sex, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So we have to kind of recognize they were trying a lot of different things. There is no ancient book of Tantra with all of the rules in it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Right. And so what we have is Osho coming to the US in the 1970s with these really amazing, mind opening, somatic experiences that are really new. So, also in the 1970s, yoga's on board in the US. It's the first time yoga is here. It's the first time that these physical experiences to connect with the divine are
Yeah.
happening in America. Right. And so that is feeding into all of this as well. And so you have Tantra where it can be a personal practice to reach an enlightened state of being. And if there is
Mhm.
no sexual component, oftentimes that's referred to as white Tantra. Then you have red Tantra that is hyper focused on the sexual aspects, the
Hmm.
partnerships. How do
Mhm.
we come together to fully express our sexual nature?
Yeah.
Right. And then you have the places and spaces on that spectrum in between, right? Overall, our society is conditioned to suppress our sexual expression. And so, how do we recognize, like, if Tantra is really about feeling into where your growth edges are and where those boundaries are, sexuality is a great place to work within
Mhm.
because you can really identify, wow, that feels a little out of my comfort zone. I don't know if I want to do that. Right? It's
Yeah.
so easy, like, to have that awareness of where you're willing to play within and experiment with.
Yeah.
And when you have a created space where it's like, I can recognize where that growth edge is. So where the other side of the growth edge, you're triggered, you're re-traumatized, those things are happening. Right. But on the other side of that line is there's this growth edge where I can get curious about. So let's say you're at a this wasn't my tantra workshop experience, my week-long retreat, but in a lot of them, you might be going for a weekend and then at some point there's an invitation for nudity.
Mhm.
And right there's that growth edge,
Yes, for sure.
right? Am I comfortable taking off my clothes with the people I've been with only for a day or two?
Mhm.
If so, how much? To what
Yeah.
level? Can I be in the same space with other people that are nude? We might not be doing any kind of touch. It's Could it just be a witnessing, right? But it's still honed in on our physical bodies, our beautiful containers of who we are,
Mhm.
right? And so I think tantra oftentimes is eliciting sexuality constantly because
Yeah.
it's where we have so many edges where growth can occur. And it can
Yeah.
bring things up in us and going, where am I comfortable in exploring this? And where is a definite no? Right. So
Yeah.
often in Tantra, we're honoring no's. No, I'm not
Mm.
available for that. I'm going to sit out of this practice. And because you're being accepted for all of that you are, that no is completely a safe answer. It's a completely accepted answer. If you want to go sit in the safe corner, you can do that.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to leave. You can just observe whatever is happening,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
so my partner has been studying with the Sky Dancing Institute, and there's some really amazing practices and um, standards of ethics and integrity in this school and this lineage that did get kind of inspired by Osho, that did get inspired by different breathwork meditations. And the founder is Margot Anand, who wrote the book, The Art of Sexual Ecstasy. And it is an
Mm.
amazing practice book. So most of the practices in this book are partnered practices, but there's also a reflection of how could you interpret this as a solo practice?
Yeah.
Right? And so there's all these
Yeah.
different lineage, just like in Reiki, just like in yoga, there are
Yeah, for
so
sure.
many branches on that tree.
Mhm. But when you talk about doing tantra alone, you talk about breath, sound, movement, and then when you're talking about doing it in a partnership, it sounds more like communication and boundaries.
It's both, right? So you're
Mhm.
setting up sacred space for whatever the practice is.
Mhm.
And in that, you get to just the this my favorite sacred space ceremony is where you come together, you do a heart salutation, you create an energetic bubble around the container in which you're creating.
Mhm.
You meet your partner with where they're at with a compliment, right? And you give them this compliment and then you receive a compliment.
Yeah.
You give a gift and have a gift exchange. You give three honorings. This is something deeper. You're really honoring who they actually are. And then you
Mhm.
move into expressing your desires, your fears, and boundaries. And in that, you'd be like, my desire is to do this practice. My desire is to be held while I experience this.
Yeah.
And you can say, my boundary is I don't want to be touched here. I have I have to be out of this space and complete by this time. Those are all boundaries,
Mhm.
right? And then the practice usually elicits one, if not all, breath, sound, and movement
It does with a partner.
with a partner.
Yeah,
But
so what does
sometimes
that look like?
well, so you know all the pictures of you see on the book covers where it's typically like you have the masculine who's got the feminine like wrapped around them,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you see that picture.
Well, they like the position books.
Well, in this one particular position where you have the masculine holding
Yeah.
feminine and she's wrapped around, that
Yeah.
position is called yap yum. And in yap
Okay.
yum, then you've each individually have practiced breath work. You know how to move the energy within yourselves. And so when you come
Mhm.
together, it's how do we sync breath? How do we invert breath? So as one is
Mm.
inhaling, the other is exhaling. How do we recognize this is as a sacred practice? And as you exhale, I'm inhaling your essence. As
Mm.
I exhale, I'm giving you the gift of mine. Right?
Mhm.
And so then it becomes a circular breath. Whether or
Yeah.
not there is sex involved or not,
Yeah.
it's still a tantra practice of we're coming together in intimacy. We're coming together in our vulnerability of because just eye gazing can be a partnered practice, right? And
Yeah.
how intense can that be for some individuals, some couples? It can be really intense. Right.
Yeah.
And so we can do a sacred gazing practice for ourselves in a mirror. And if
Yeah.
anyone who's done mirror work knows that that can be truly revealing. Right. And so, what if I'm looking into the eyes and the souls of my partner?
Yeah.
Now, here's the other question. Where does intimacy and your relationship extend to? Can you be intimate with someone else without being sexual?
Mm.
So there's
Mhm.
all these other questions like if my partner was eye gazing in a tantra workshop with someone else, what does that elicit in me?
Yeah.
Right? If he's off teaching and demoing some of these tantra practices and workshops, how do I feel? Right? So
Yeah.
it does bring up a lot of
Mm.
conversation and recognition of what is sacred to our relationship.
Mhm. When you started doing this in partnership, what surprised you the most about yourself or this practice or caught you off guard?
Oh God, the yumminess. Meaning like
That's so good.
it's so yummy. It's so yummy. I'm I'm like, when can we have a tantra date night for ourselves? Right?
Yeah.
Like we teach together, we hold space
Mhm.
for others, and it's like, when is it our turn? Like I love it. I absolutely love it. So it's the yumminess of truly witnessing another and being fully yourself. I think that's
Mm.
the yummiest part because for me, I am an emotional being. I probably cry every single day, right? That is just who I am. And to
Mhm.
be in partnership with someone who says, I love all of you and
Yeah.
all of your expression, however you are in any given day, that full unconditional love and support is amazing. And so when you bring that into the bedroom of what if we get curious about this, what if there was no goal orientation? What if the
Yeah.
goal wasn't to have an orgasm? What if the goal was to connect? What if the goal was to share our energy and explore the yumminess of this moment?
Yeah.
Then sex becomes art,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Is no goal. If we take that off, where does
Yeah.
playfulness get to show up? Where does movement get to show up? Where does that breath show? Where does a sound show up? How do you want a
Mhm.
sound? Is it really primal and animalistic or is it soft and slow? Like the
Mhm.
possibilities are endless. So one, you're
Yeah.
never going to get bored.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because it takes a predictability element out of it, and when somebody's been with somebody for a long time, that can, maybe slide into the relationship, and so it's taking that out of it and keeping it fresh and new and exciting.
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah,
so you can have these practices where you meet each other where you're at,
yeah,
feel into each other's energy, and you get to get curious about what do you want to feel in this moment? How does that look? How do we want to play in that? So
mhm,
sometimes it's sex and sexy, and sometimes it's different. Sometimes it's just holding one another. Sometimes it's sharing stories, right?
mhm,
If I'm coming to a space of I accept all of who you are and all of your background, how often do we share those memories within us that we have fought so hard to bury?
yeah,
Right? And so could that be a tantra practice of I'm being held in sacred space to share stories that have been buried within me so that you can know me more,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's not
yeah,
necessarily always about sex, and it can be,
mhm,
right?
yeah. Okay, so if somebody's wanting to explore this whole concept, and I know that they can work with you. I'm just wondering, like, if they're looking into this, how do they find the right fit for them, especially if they're going into a group
Yeah.
setting and they're a little scared? Because I think this all sounds lovely,
Yeah.
but somebody can walk into a container that's not great.
Safe, right. And I think this is why it's really important to know what the standards of their practice is, right? Are you going to an experience that's through an institution? And if so, what are their standards and ethics?
Mhm.
What are their standards of care? How are they keeping these spaces as safe as possible? You can't keep, I mean, at any point, traumas are going to show up. How are they going to hold space for you if you have had a traumatic sexual assault in your background? If
Yeah.
that comes forward, do they have the capacity, the know how, and the sacredness to hold you in that?
Mhm.
Right. So I think talking to facilitators are absolutely important.
Mhm. What would you ask though? Like, because sexual trauma is rampant, and was it like 1 out of 5 men and 1 out of 4 women, which is vastly underreported.
Right.
So then what do you ask? How do you get that back?
Right. Well, I think you can call up and go, what are your ethical boundaries in this practice? I think some of the things that we need to recognize is power dynamics.
Mhm.
If you have a facilitator who is going to not constantly check in on what the group's boundaries are, that's a red flag. You
Yeah.
want someone to constantly go, how are we feeling about this?
Mhm.
Am I hearing any boundaries around this practice? How can we
Mhm.
make this more comfortable?
Yeah.
What are your other options? Right. So we want to know that if you have a facilitator in a power authority position, can they date students? That
Mm.
should be a no. Are they going to be demoing things on you?
Yeah.
That should be a no, right? Like
Yeah.
there are certain elements that should stand out of going, if you're in a power and authority figure and we're going to do a sexual experience, we need to make sure that the power dynamics are evened out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this is always listen to your heart, listen to your gut, listen to your inner truth, and notice if things feel in contraction, if they feel like a no, it's probably because they probably are, right? And so, I just last night completed a 5-week online intro to Tantra training. And
Mhm.
it was the first class was on learning how to create sacred space and do the sacred space ceremony. And then each week we did breath, sound, and movement. And the final class last night was on how to create your sacred sex life. How do you embody this? Right. And
Yeah.
so we're just giving the taste of these practices,
Yeah.
right? Because we need to kind of feel into, is this an alignment for me? Can I understand how the impact and the power of doing breath work, of moving my body? Let's say I'm going to dance in front of others, fully clothed. If that feels edgy to you, it's still a tantra practice, right?
Yeah.
So it's finding where those edges are and going, wow, I'm going to leave my camera on and I'm going to dance and these people are going to see me. That's still finding those growth edges. It doesn't necessarily like
Yeah.
you have to go to a weekend workshop and have nude massages. If that's not if you're not ready for that or don't want that, like let that be okay,
Yeah.
right? And so maybe it's taking different steps on your journey of exploring.
Well, I think as a woman, it would feel a lot safer to go to like what you did, where you went on a women's retreat with this, than being mixed gender. Personally, I think that for myself.
Right. And I think it's like
Yeah.
recognizing where you're at. Like I also have a women's circle I hold weekly and it's a feminine activation class. Like I'm putting that in quotes, right? Like the feminine activation class, we're doing tantra practices, but we're doing it in a sacred space held just for women. And
Okay.
almost every week I have someone in that space saying, I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be in a space only for women. And I can make these sounds and I feel comfortable doing so because I know there's no men here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's the first steps is finding a women's group that are doing practices together, that you're exploring your own divine femininity, right? Like that's really where I started. It was understanding the priestess side of the work, the
Mhm.
Egyptian lineage, not the Indian lineage,
Yeah.
right? And so I got to play in that space where everything I was learning for was for me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
Right. And that made me feel so much more comfortable and confident so that when I was in a partnership that wanted to do practices, I could feel into that and be like, yeah, I can do this. And then going into breath work practices or eye gazing practices or other intimacy workshops
Yeah.
where literally, like, I've been to some intimacy workshops where one partner is blindfolded and the other one leads the other person around the room.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
that can be a tantra workshop. It could
Mhm.
be something where everyone's fully closed and we're going to receive a massage, but your job as the receiver is to be fully
Mhm.
receiving and saying, "Where's my no? Nope, not there. Nope, not there. Nope,
Yeah.
not there." And that's the only thing you're allowed to say is no, where the no is. Not deeper, not softer, but
Okay,
just
yeah.
no. Right? And so
Mm.
there's all these different avenues of exploring in the world of tantra that's not explicitly sexual or over the top. And if you want to go there, I would say the Sky Dancing Institute has really good ethical boundaries and standards for their teachers, their trainers, their facilitators that I'm definitely I haven't even done a full co-gendered space, right? But I'm
Yeah.
like, I might be ready for that. I might be willing to explore that option. But a year
Yeah.
ago I definitely was not,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I think learning to say no is such a powerful practice for so many women.
Right. Right. Right, and so
Yeah.
for me personally, when I do this work, I really do it through the lens of the chakras. It's my background, right? Like
Yeah.
I've taught in chakra coaching certifications and all these things. And so when I can really recognize this is a model based on the chakras from root to crown,
Yeah.
and how do I breathe for this chakra? How do I sound for this chakra? How do I move for this chakra? How can I dance through this process? And so, like, for our intro to Tantra workshop, for the movement practice, I had people spiral through each of their chakras until they were in for some, a very enlightened, orgasmic, connected state with the divine, right? And so you're moving this energy up and noticing what you notice. Where does it
Mhm.
not want to move? How does it not want to flow? What do I notice?
Mhm.
If
How do
I'm
you move it? Just with the spiral action?
Yeah, so you're intentionally spiraling that energy up so if let's say I'm facilitating and I'm like, okay, now we're spiraling
Yeah.
from the root. How are you moving your body from your
Yeah.
root chakra
Okay.
versus, okay, now we're up in the solar plexus. How are you moving with the
Yeah.
center point of your solar plexus right below the sternum?
Mhm.
How can I move that area? And so you
Yeah.
literally are moving your body. It's like squeezing a toothpaste tube.
Yeah.
And so you're bringing that energy up and
Yeah.
noticing what you feel, noticing where things get stuck. It's a somatic experience that way.
Mhm. I almost picture this, hula hooping through the chakras,
Yeah,
where you're like, "Okay, the hula hoop is on your root chakra, now you have to move it, and then it's moving up to your heart, and you gotta move the hula hoop."
yeah, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
amazing if you actually take, 5-10 minutes per chakra, what you notice in that. What
Mhm,
emotions you're stirring them up. What has gotten stuck in the chakra that felt so stagnant, so blocked before? Now you're giving
mhm.
witness to it. There's that Shiva energy. I'm giving witness to, wow, I'm feeling so much anger. Can I scream right now? And
Yeah,
so then you find yourself screaming. And in these spaces, that was okay.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And so if I'm moving and I'm energetically charging my body, it's almost like feeling like the pressure to bust through anything that's in its way.
yeah,
Right. So it can be a healing practice in that way. Right.
yeah.
You're
Or you
really,
can feel like it's really fluid in some places, and then other places it's sticky, it's not as easy to move, it's, like, muddier.
yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Mm, okay. And then is it moving up and out through the crown?
So oftentimes when we bring, I would say, I know at least in the Sky Dancing Institute school, they find the upper chakras much more advanced. They might not bring people all the way up and through.
Okay.
I do. Like, I feel fine with that. But,
Yeah.
oftentimes as you bring this energy through, you can have visions, right? Like
Yeah.
my original teacher, she called this work erotic shamanism.
Mhm.
Why? Because she was eliciting this energy through her body to open and expand her third eye so that she could have visions,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why there's a lot of different names for this practice. Right?
Mm.
And so when we are bringing the energy up and through, what do you notice? Is it
Yeah.
all expansive? I am one with God. I'm having a cosmic orgasm. Amazing. But if not, like that's okay. There once again, there's no goal orientation. It's notice what you notice, feel what you feel, honor where you're at.
Mhm.
Right. And if
Yeah.
it's too much, you decide, how do I slow this down? How do I breathe different? Do I need to take a break? You are given this sovereignty to be fully expressed of going, this is what I need in this moment. And I'm going to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Right. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of personal responsibility to recognize where is that edge and whether you're towing it or not.
Yeah. I mean, that's a beautiful practice in general anyway. Figuring out where your edge is, speaking your using your voice, saying no, standing in your power. So I'm guessing that if people are doing this practice with themselves or with a partner, it just transfers out into the world and everything that they're doing.
Right, because here's the thing, if you're like, for me, it's like, I wanna live an ecstatic life, I wanna live a full life, and if I look through the lens of the chakras, is this chakra as expansive as possible?
Mhm.
How does it feel today? How can I bring more breath, more life into this area of my body? And
Yeah.
as I move through it, now I'm filling my cup because here's the earth. Mother Gaia, Pachamama, she has everything that we need. She has so much nourishment and support for us. So we're bringing and eliciting that energy through ourselves so that we can overflow in abundance to those around us.
Yeah.
She's going to take care of us first. She's going to help support bust through those walls,
Mhm.
right? And then you get to feel into how much more my life feels when I can know and communicate in healthy ways what my boundaries are, how I can
Yeah.
honor myself in the grief that shows up, how I can have bigger belly laughs, that I can have more quiet moments of silent tears that feel nourishing to me, right? Because if
Mm.
all of my expression is welcome and this is my new standard for myself, how much more am I living life fully?
Yeah.
Right? So I really had this transition this last time I went to Japan of recognizing the escapism of my purpose is to reach enlightenment. Here I am
Yes.
hanging out
Yes.
with the Buddhists, right? And I'm like, I want to feel my whole self. I want to feel my body. I'm not trying to escape it. If my body has the capacity to feel ecstatic, feel energetically just yummy, swimming in that sensuality all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
It feels amazing. Like, there was oftentimes after doing intense practices with my partner, just my partner, and doing intense practices, like 4 or 5-hour ceremonies, I would be floating on cloud 9 for days afterwards.
Hmm.
It felt like I was on, like, ecstasy, right? Like, my whole body was alive, like, I could just swim in this yummy, juicy energy, and
Mm.
going, "If our natural state is to be bliss,
Yeah.
what would that be like?"
Yeah.
I wanna invite more of that in, and now how do I show up for my world, my children, my colleagues, my students, my whoever it may be? How
Yeah.
am I when I show up in the fullness of like, my exuberant, expansive self,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
noticing what that does to relationship dynamics. You know right away who wants to put you in a box and be like, "Your tears are too much for me," or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, right? You become really aware of, this is my new standard of, I'm comfortable in my own skin and my own joy and my own sadness, whatever it may be. And this is how I want to live my life, because I feel like we're here for reason and purpose. We have
Yeah.
taken on this human form as spiritual beings for reason and purpose. And I don't want to escape it. I don't
Yeah.
need to reach enlightenment, because I'm here for a mission, for purpose, for clarity.
Yeah.
And I get to live through that more abundantly in these practices.
Yeah. Yeah. Just creating a bigger, brighter, better version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this.
It's a really yummy place, and I feel like, what would life be like if people were more available to be honest with themselves, vulnerable with others, being able to be in intimate spaces? And what would that look like culturally?
Yeah.
How would things shift if people could show up, and instead of just saying, if you ask, "How are you?" and they say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'm fine," to
Yeah.
actually give you a real answer, and the other person be able to hold space for that, and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like sitting in our soul and dropping the people pleasing
Right.
and dropping into our truth and living in that truth. And it can be tricky to find. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it's interesting the way things show up. So, like, I live in an intentional community, and one of the things I saw that my community needed was more intimate interactions. And so
Mm.
my partner and I held sacred space in my community. Nothing sexual. We're just talking about your needs, desires, wants of living in community together.
Yeah.
And we had 25 people show up. So clearly there was interest,
Yeah.
and just being able to share with one another, this is what I want for our community. This is my fear around our community. And this is my boundaries. Like, I want to have a signal that I'm not available. If I'm rushing to my car, don't talk to me. Like, really tangible things
Yeah.
when you live with about 100 people. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really fascinating when you can start having these, like, just doing the eye gazing, just doing the conversations about how you're allowing other people to show up in their truth and their
Yeah.
authenticity, right? And
Yeah.
how interactions become different when you're allowing this.
Yeah. I mean, it's being comfortable with your own emotions and then being comfortable with others' emotions so you're not
Right.
running away from them. Yeah.
Well, it's always like, for me, it's like personal
Yeah.
practice first.
Yeah,
Personal
100%.
practice first.
I love this.
Mhm.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you have any last wisdom words for us? That's a lot. It's good. It's good stuff.
I would say, if you're a woman, move your hips every day.
Mm,
Turn on the music and move your hips every day. And what does that allow and make available for in your life? Just notice.
hmm.
And for everyone,
Yeah.
what if we turned on music for 5 minutes and just danced like no one was watching? What if we danced fully? What if we danced
Yeah.
naked? Like, whatever that is for you,
Yeah.
noticing what you notice and notice how you feel before, during, and after,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that is your baby step of intro to Tantra.
Yeah. Yeah. And moving your hips every day is very small and easy and doable.
I just feel like if all women move their hips, we'd live in a different place.
Yeah.
Could vibrate it up to a new plane.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. I don't rotate my hips or move my hips every single day, so we'll have to see.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an
Mm,
invitation.
perfect. Well, thank you. Would you like to share how people can connect with you, what your offerings are, how they can find you, and I will put all that in the show notes too.
I would love that. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Christine Renee. You can find me over on Facebook and Instagram under Moon Rising Institute. My school is Moon Rising Shamanic Institute, but the website is moonrisinginstitute.com. We have a very active Facebook group called Shamanic Mystics Moon Rising. You're welcome to join in on that space. And if you reach out to me, I'm happy to meet you where you're at. If you want to jump on a connect call to see how I can support, we do have our Intro to Tantra 5-week online series starting again the first week of March. And
Uh,
in the between time, I love taking individual clients to help them activate their chakras, their internal energy source, this wisdom that can rise from within, and love doing those practices together. And if you are interested in more of a couples intro to tantra one-on-one,
yeah.
it can be with just me, it can be with me and my partner. He's very willing to share his wisdom, as he's been doing tantra for well over a decade and
Yeah.
training for a very long time, and just full of wisdom as well. So would love to
Mm,
support those that are interested in taking the next steps.
yeah. And I've done several courses with you, and I know that anything that you create as an offering is going to be spectacular. So I highly recommend you to everybody.
Uh, I so appreciate it. Yeah, I love the soul rising work. We're going to have a facilitator training coming up in January, a 6 weeks facilitator on like, how do we communicate? How do we really support our our clients, our participants moving and maybe from the online space into an in-person space? How do we facilitate? So that also is on my radar for offering in January. I'm really looking forward to helping people who have been certification holders, like they just collect those, into
Yeah.
how do we put these into action? How do we make money off of these? How do we hold space to really do the work in group settings? So that
Yeah.
also is something coming up right around the corner.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate our conversation. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Mm. Thank you for listening to the Connected Community Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. I can be found at www.nickyyoga.com, NICKYYYOGA.com. Until I see you again next week, I hope you have a beautiful day.